If you love shocking true crime stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell for more chilling cases every week. Speech balloons, share your thoughts in the comments below. Would you have seen the signs? From the outside, the Herons were the very image of suburban success. Their stately house, perched on a quiet cul-de-sac lined with maples, was a favorite on the block. Gleaming windows, manicured gardens, bursts of laughter trickling out on summer evenings. Neighbors envied their seemingly effortless life. Olivia, a striking blonde with a sharp sense of humor and flawless style. Her husband Julian, a tall man with controlled gestures, always quick with a polite smile, but never quite warm. They were the couple at every charity gala, the parents who never missed a school event, the hosts of legendary backyard barbecues. Inside the Heron home, everything sparkled: polished floors, gourmet kitchen, children's artwork neatly displayed in pastel frames. Yet beneath the surface, something felt off. Friends noticed the way Julian corrected Olivia's stories at parties, the icy pauses when conversation veered off script. Olivia would laugh, adjusting her blouse or smoothing her skirt, but her eyes seemed tired, always searching, never quite at ease. They had 2 young children, William and Rose, whose boundless energy overwhelmed Olivia. Balancing motherhood with freelance PR work left her exhausted, her patience thinning as quickly as her sleep. Julian's career as a financial consultant demanded long hours and frequent travel. As the months passed, the Herons' cheerful routine faltered. Olivia grew tense, snapping at small inconveniences, while Julian's presence at home became more sporadic and distant. To friends, their solution was simple: hire a nanny. Olivia resisted at first. She prided herself on being a hands-on mother. But eventually, the strain won out. She posted a job listing, seeking live-in nanny, energetic, organized, loving. Discretion a must. Applicants flooded in, but most didn't make it past Olivia's fierce interviews or Julian's silent appraisal. The couple was searching for someone special, though neither could have articulated what that meant. After weeks of searching, they found her, Emily Fisher, a 21-year-old education major, shy but warm, glowing with optimism. She'd grown up caring for her siblings and needed a steady job while finishing college. Olivia was charmed by her gentle manner and eager references. Even Julian offered the rare compliment, noting Emily's calm demeanor and strong boundaries. Emily moved in on a brilliant spring morning, her possessions neatly packed in 2 suitcases. She was immediately attentive, creative with the children, quick to adapt to Olivia's routines and Julian's exacting standards. For a while, life in the Heron home seemed lighter. Olivia rediscovered her social side. Julian lingered longer at dinner. The children slept peacefully. But unsettling moments crept in, little things at first. Olivia began leaving Emily longer lists of rules. Julian asked more personal questions about her boyfriend, her childhood, where she went when she left the house on weekends. Emily did her best to answer, but sensed a shift in the couple's tone. Their politeness often gave way to scrutinizing stares, their warmth turning to strange possessiveness. Late one evening, as Emily finished folding laundry, she overheard Olivia and Julian arguing in the kitchen. Their voices were muffled but heated. She couldn't make out the words, but the tension was thick enough to send a chill up her spine. That night, Emily tucked herself into bed, staring at the ceiling. She reminded herself this was just a job, one she needed badly, and surely every family had its secrets. She never imagined that, behind the Heron's perfect facade, she had already become part of a dark and dangerous game. And the deadliest secret of all was still hidden, waiting beneath the surface. Emily Fisher arrived at the Heron's house early on Saturday morning, her heart fluttering with a mix of nerves and optimism. The sidewalk glistened with dew as Olivia greeted her at the door, a practiced smile on her lips. "Welcome, Emily. Let me help you with those bags." Julian appeared moments later, his handshake firm, gaze assessing. Emily felt like she was being weighed and measured, every detail of her appearance silently noted. The children, William, age 6, and Rose, age 4, peeked from behind a staircase, shy but curious. "Hi, Emily," William whispered, clutching a toy car. Rose offered a hesitant wave. Emily knelt down, her voice gentle. "Hi guys, I'm really excited to get to know you." Unpacking her things into the small third-floor guest room, Emily was struck by the orderliness of the house. Every picture frame was straight, every book in its place. Even her towels had been folded into perfect rectangles. She told herself this was a sign of Olivia's high standards, a minor quirk she could easily adapt to. The first few days passed in a pleasant blur. Emily and the children explored the garden, baked cupcakes, and played elaborate games of hide-and-seek. Olivia hovered in the background, observing. She asked Emily each evening how the day had gone, what the children ate, what they'd said, whether they missed their parents. Her tone was friendly yet oddly insistent. Emily sensed she was being tested. Julian, by contrast, was often absent, rushing from meeting to meeting. When home, he was polite but reserved, showing interest in Emily's background more than her activities with the children. He asked about her family, her studies, her plans for the future. Emily offered polite answers, but often felt as if she was on a job interview that never quite ended. On Emily's third day, Olivia handed her a typed list titled Household Rules. The children must be in bed by 8 p.m. sharp. No sweets after 5 p.m. All doors must remain locked at night. No visitors under any circumstances. And finally, always remember, our private family business stays within these walls. Emily nodded, folding the list into her journal. The last rule lingered in her mind long after Olivia left the room. By the end of her first week, Emily felt both welcomed and wary. The children grew attached to her, seeking her out for comfort and stories. Olivia seemed satisfied, her laughter less brittle, her movements more relaxed. Julian even brought home flowers for Olivia, a rare gesture that Emily sensed was for her benefit as much as for his wife. Still, there were odd moments, the couple's whispered conversations behind closed doors, Olivia's sudden mood swings, Julian's late-night pacing on the patio. Once, Emily thought she heard her name mentioned, followed by a clipped hush. She told herself all families had their eccentricities, and that the Herons were simply adjusting to having her in their home. But unease settled in as the days passed. Olivia became increasingly prescriptive, leaving Emily notes with instructions on everything from folding laundry to the children's preferred songs. Julian lingered longer in the kitchen when Emily was present, asking about her dreams, her fears, her beliefs. There were questions that seemed too personal, but Emily answered out of politeness, wary of offending her employers. One evening, after the children were asleep, Olivia invited Emily to join her for tea. The conversation was oddly intimate, Olivia confiding how hard motherhood had become, how lonely she sometimes felt. Emily listened, sympathetic, but could not shake the feeling that she was being drawn into something more complicated than she'd expected. Later that night, as Emily prepared for bed, she found a fresh note on her pillow. "Thank you for being so understanding. I hope you know how much we value you. Oh, NJ." The handwriting was neat, but the message felt less like a welcome and more like a warning. For all its beauty and comfort, the Heron household was starting to feel less like a home, and more like a carefully constructed stage where every moment was watched, every line rehearsed, and every secret tucked just out of sight. Emily drifted to sleep, unaware that her role in this family drama was about to grow much darker. Emily awoke before dawn to the gentle hum of the dishwasher and the spill of pale light beneath her door. The Heron household ran on invisible clockwork. Every morning, Olivia was already in the kitchen, preparing elaborate breakfasts, every plate and mug laid out with almost military precision. William and Rose followed their schedules as if programmed, brushing teeth, packing bags, and reading quietly until it was time to leave for school. While Emily admired Olivia's organization, she began to feel burdened by the ever-growing list of rules. They covered everything: when Rose was allowed screen time, how William's socks should be folded, precisely how long the children could play outdoors. Even storybooks had a rotation, no book twice in 1 week. The rules, printed and laminated, were pinned to the fridge and tucked into Emily's planner. Olivia reminded her daily, routine is security. At first, Emily complied out of respect, but soon it felt like she was performing for a silent, unseen audience. Sometimes, Olivia would appear in the doorway, arms crossed, watching as Emily measured out exactly 6 ounces of orange juice or timed the children's showers to the minute. Julian's rules were more subtle, but no less suffocating. When Olivia was away, he expected Emily to join him for late dinners, subtly scolding her for refusing wine or taking her meals upstairs. He asked probing questions about her friends, her family, and her love life. "You're such an open book, Emily," he remarked one night, his smile thin. "I appreciate honesty." Emily felt her boundaries pushed and prodded with each interaction. She tried to create small sanctuaries for herself, listening to music with headphones after the children slept, sneaking short walks in the garden, journaling late at night. Still, she could not shake the sense of being constantly observed. Tension simmered throughout the house. Rose developed a nervous habit of chewing her nails and clinging to Emily when Olivia raised her voice. William, usually happy and talkative, became withdrawn around his parents, answering their questions with polite but rehearsed responses. One day, Emily noticed a new rule taped to the door of her room. No locking your door at night. She stared at the note, unsettled. That evening, she tentatively asked Olivia about it. "It's just for safety, darling," Olivia replied, her tone sweet but final. "We like to keep all doors open in our home. Transparency, you know." Emily nodded, but her skin prickled with unease. That night, as she lay in bed, she heard footsteps passing by her door. Once, twice, again, and a faint whispering. She closed her eyes, heart pounding, and listened as the sound faded. Over the following days, the couple's behavior grew stranger still. Olivia asked Emily to wear certain clothes. Flowy dresses, hair pinned back, minimal makeup. "Children respond better to a gentle image," she insisted. Julian began leaving small gifts for Emily: lavender hand cream, a favorite book, chocolate truffles with handwritten notes. A little something to sweeten your day. Emily's gratitude was genuine at first, but the gestures quickly felt loaded. It was as if every kindness carried a price, every compliment a new expectation. When Emily called her mother to confide her discomfort, the advice was clear: "You need this job, Em. Don't overthink things. Some families are just quirky." But deep down, Emily sensed the heron's quirks ran deeper than mere eccentricity. One Friday evening, while putting Rose to bed, the little girl whispered, "Don't tell Mommy, but I get scared at night. Sometimes I hear things." Emily hugged her close. "It's just the house settling, sweetie. I'm right down the hall if you need me." She tried to convince herself it was true. Yet as the days went on and the rules in the Heron home multiplied, Emily realized she was no longer sure of what was normal and what was warning. As May slipped into June, a sticky unease settled over the Heron home. To the neighbors, nothing had changed. Olivia's laughter still rang out at garden parties. Julian still waved on his way to work. The children still rode their bikes in matching helmets. But for Emily, every day felt like walking on eggshells, as if a single misstep might shatter the fragile peace. The rules continued to multiply until Emily found herself memorizing them like survival instructions. The no-lock doors rule troubled her most. There were nights she lay awake, breath held, listening to footsteps stop outside her door, to hushed voices in the hallway. Sometimes faint, sometimes clear enough that she caught her own name. Whenever she asked Olivia or Julian, they'd deflect with easy smiles, "Old houses creak," or "We're probably just checking on you, dear." One evening, with the children asleep, Olivia invited Emily for a glass of wine in the garden. Moonlight reflected off the patio stones, and the air was thick with jasmine. Olivia's charm was on full display. She flattered Emily, asked about her hopes and disappointments, and praised her gentle way with the children. But as the conversation drifted, Olivia's tone shifted. "You do like living here, don't you?" she asked, her eyes sharp despite her soft smile. Emily hesitated. "Yes, of course. It's a beautiful home. She tried to sound convincing. Olivia leaned closer, voice barely above a whisper. We're very careful about the people we let into our circle. We expect loyalty. We expect respect. You understand, don't you? Emily nodded, unsettled by the sudden intensity. Later that night, as Emily brushed her teeth, she noticed a shadow move past the bathroom door. She froze, toothbrush poised in midair, heart thudding. The creak of floorboards, a faint click, then silence. Was it Julian getting water? Olivia checking windows? Or just her mind playing tricks in the darkness? Another evening, Julian caught Emily alone in the kitchen. He asked if she was happy, if the children were behaving, if she ever felt lonely in their house. His gaze lingered too long, his hand resting briefly on her shoulder as he handed her a cup of tea. Emily forced a smile and slipped away as soon as politeness allowed. The children, too, grew more anxious. William confided to Emily that he sometimes wished his mom and dad went away just for a little while. Rose clung to her, whispering, "Don't leave us, Emmy. Please don't." Emily's sense of obligation deepened. She tried to keep things light for the kids, picnics in the backyard, fort building in the living room, secret treats after lunch. But even these small joys took on a furtive edge, as if fun itself were one more line that shouldn't be crossed. One Saturday, Emily found a small, locked box in the laundry room. It was buried behind cleaning supplies, heavy for its size. She was tempted to open it, but resisted. The Herons had made it clear privacy was paramount, unless it was their privacy. She put the box back, but the urge to pry gnawed at her for days. Olivia's moods became unpredictable. Some mornings, she was radiant, inviting Emily to join her yoga routine or share a fresh pastry. Other days, she was silent and abrupt, barking instructions, criticizing Emily's housekeeping or the children's manners. Julian became more possessive, sometimes appearing in rooms without warning, watching Emily as she worked. He began asking her to join him for late-night conversations, discussing morality, loyalty, and the importance of trust. Some people, he said cryptically, never learn their place in a family. We hope you're wiser than that. Emily laughed it off, but inside she felt watched, tested, and trapped. Her phone calls with family grew shorter. She avoided worrying her mother, blaming her exhaustion on busy days with the kids. But each night, as she lay awake in the shadowy room, she wondered what she was really afraid of, the Herons themselves, or the secrets she was beginning to sense all around her. One evening, as a thunderstorm rattled the windows, Emily finally unlocked her journal and scribbled a single line. I think something is terribly wrong here, but I can't put my finger on it yet. She had no way of knowing how much darker and more dangerous life in the Heron home was about to become. Emily woke from uneasy dreams, her mind already tangled in the anxieties of the Heron house. Each morning she promised herself that today she would keep her boundaries firmer, her spirit lighter. Yet with every passing day, the couple's presence pressed in closer, subtle at first, then unmistakably invasive. Julian's attentions grew harder to ignore. He found excuses to be near Emily, offering to drive her to the market, asking for help with trivial tasks, floating compliments that hovered uncomfortably at the edge of propriety. "You're not like other nannies," he said one afternoon, eyes lingering on her face. "You're part of this family now. I hope you feel that." Emily forced a smile, feeling both flattered and trapped. The message was clear. Gratitude meant compliance. Olivia's behavior, meanwhile, oscillated between suffocating warmth and icy scrutiny. Some days she treated Emily like a confidant, sharing secrets about her marriage, lamenting the world's unfairness, even gossiping about neighbors and old friends. "You're the only one who understands, Emily," she'd sigh, squeezing Emily's hand just a bit too long. "You have such a gentle soul." But her mood could shift in an instant. If Emily made a minor mistake, overcooked spinach, a missed bedtime, a story read out of turn, Olivia's face would harden, her words turning sharp and curt. "We expect professionalism," she snapped one evening when Rose spilled juice on the rug. "You're not here to be their friend. You're here to set an example." Emily apologized, reminding herself not to show emotion. She could feel herself closing off, hiding her true thoughts, her fatigue, her growing fear. As spring tipped towards summer, the couple began orchestrating more family nights. At first, these seemed harmless: board games, movie marathons, late suppers. But Emily quickly realized their real purpose. She was expected to play a central role, sitting between Olivia and Julian, answering their probing questions, accepting their gifts. Refusing felt impossible. Agreeing felt like surrender. Julian, emboldened by Emily's discomfort, became bolder. One night, as the others slept, he knocked softly at Emily's door. "Can we talk?" he whispered. Emily, startled and uneasy in her thin nightgown, hesitated. "It's late, maybe in the morning?" He lingered, eyes searching her face, before retreating with a thin smile. "We want you to be happy here, Emily. Remember, the doors are always open." Emily barely slept, fear and confusion twisting in her stomach. Olivia took another tack, often appearing without warning beside Emily, offering to brush her hair, suggesting they meditate together, insisting she try on new clothes. "We're sisters, really," she would say, voice syrupy. "Let's keep no secrets between us." The children, sensing the shift in the house's energy, became more restless. William acted out, breaking a vase and then sobbing inconsolably. Rose clung to Emily's leg, refusing to eat lunch without her, whispering, "Don't let them send you away." Emily tried to reassure them, all the while fighting the urge to pack her things and run. She needed the job. The paychecks covered her tuition, her rent back home, her mother's medications. She told herself that summer would pass quickly, that she could keep her head down, do her work, and leave at the end of her contract. But the Heron's obsession grew. She found new notes each day, some sweet, others unsettling. "We're so grateful you're with us. Don't ever leave. Families are forever." One afternoon, after a particularly tense lunch, Emily caught Olivia and Julian whispering in the hallway, their faces tense. When they noticed her watching, both smiled, too wide and too sudden. As July approached, Emily's sense of foreboding grew unbearable. She realized she was no longer a guest in the Heron home, but a captive in their strange, tightening web. That night, as thunder cracked overhead and the house creaked beneath the wind, Emily finally admitted to herself, "They don't want a nanny. They want something I can't give, and I don't know what they'll do if I disappoint them." The heat of July pressed against the windows, making the Heron house feel all the more claustrophobic. Emily moved through her days as if in a trance. Routine and fear braided tightly together. She became hyper-aware of every glance, every whisper, every door that seemed to close just a little too softly behind her. One evening, after a dinner thick with uncomfortable silences and forced laughter, Olivia announced a family game night. She insisted Emily sit between her and Julian on the plush living room sofa. The rules were Olivia's invention: strange, personal, invasive. Rather than the usual board games, Olivia suggested trust tests. At first, it was harmless: share a childhood memory, name your favorite meal. But quickly, the questions turned intimate. What are you most ashamed of? Have you ever lied to someone you loved? Julian watched Emily closely with each answer, eyes narrowed, as if searching for hidden meaning beneath her words. The children, sensing the tension, fidgeted and glanced between the adults. When Emily tried to steer the game back to safer territory, Olivia interrupted, her tone saccharine but with a sharp edge. "No secrets tonight, remember?" After the children went to bed, Julian poured drinks for the adults and put on soft music. Olivia leaned in, lowering her voice. "We want you to feel like you truly belong here, Emily. We trust you completely. Isn't that right, Julian?" He nodded, smiling too broadly. "Of course. We're a family." Emily's skin prickled with dread. She mumbled an excuse and retreated to her room. But later that night, she discovered her door, once again, slightly ajar. She was certain she closed it. The next day, Olivia presented Emily with a new dress, delicate and old-fashioned. "Wear this for dinner tonight. You look lovely," Emily protested, but Olivia's smile was now a command. It's important to us. Dinner that evening was a tableau of forced normalcy. The children were unusually quiet, eyes flicking nervously to their parents. Julian made a toast. To our Emily, may you always feel at home with us. He clinked his glass against Olivia's and Emily's, and then held her gaze a moment too long. As the sun set, Olivia suggested a walk in the garden. She looped her arm through Emily's, her grip tight. You know we'd do anything for you, don't you? You matter to us so much. But loyalty is everything here. Disloyalty hurts families. Emily nodded, heart pounding. She felt the edge of a warning beneath Olivia's words. That night, while brushing her teeth, Emily heard muffled voices from downstairs. She crept to the landing, listening. She's not grateful enough, Olivia hissed. She'll come around, Julian replied, his voice cool. Emily rushed back to her room, realizing with horror that the couple's attention had twisted into something far more sinister. The next days blurred, a fever dream of escalating control. Olivia confiscated Emily's phone for safekeeping. Julian began locking the doors at night, pocketing the keys. The children were forbidden from entering Emily's room. Meals became more structured, conversation more stilted. Emily felt herself slipping further from the outside world. Desperate, she planned to escape, to seek help, to call her mother, to run. But every opportunity was blocked, every move watched. One night, as a storm battered the house and lightning flashed over the garden, Emily realized too late. She was utterly trapped, and the Herons' family games had only just begun. Outside, thunder rumbled. Inside, in the darkest corners of the perfect house, evil was taking shape. Emily's world shrank to the confines of the Heron house, each room a reminder of just how completely she had lost her freedom. The routine she once found comforting was now a prison. Every moment monitored, every word weighed, every small act of independence swiftly punished. She tried to keep up appearances for the children, putting on a brave face as they clung to her with growing desperation. William's questions became more insistent. Emily, are you leaving? Why don't you call your mom anymore? Rose, quiet and anxious, drew pictures with scrawled, haunted figures, a family with empty faces standing next to a small girl with tears on her cheeks. Emily's plan to escape had crumbled before it even began. Her phone remained locked in Olivia's desk drawer. The back and front doors were bolted each night, and the windows in her room had been screwed shut under the pretense of safety for the children. Even the neighborly smiles from across the fence now seemed menacing. If someone saw her waving, would they realize something was wrong? Or would they just see another cheerful nanny, part of the Heron's picture-perfect life? Julian's demeanor shifted from unsettling charm to open threat. He demanded gratitude for their generosity, reminding Emily daily how much worse things could be for her. "We saved you," he would say, voice low so the children wouldn't hear. No one cares about a nanny who disappears. Everyone is replaceable. Emily realized with a chill that in the Heron's eyes, she was no longer a guest, nor even an employee. She was property. Olivia doubled down on control. Emily was required to account for every minute of her day, every meal, every interaction with the children. When Emily asked, begged, for a day off, Olivia laughed. "You want time away from us? I thought we were family." Her tone left no room for argument. Nights became Emily's torment. She lay in bed, listening to the Herons move about the house, their footsteps stopping outside her door, the soft click of the lock as they checked she hadn't gone anywhere. More than once, she awoke to find Olivia sitting by her bed, watching with cold, appraising eyes. "You were tossing and turning," Olivia would murmur. "You mustn't have nightmares. Everything is fine as long as you behave." Emily's mind raced with possible escapes, finding a forgotten spare key, sneaking a note out with the trash, signaling a neighbor. Each idea seemed futile. Olivia and Julian anticipated her every move, closing every avenue, erasing every loophole. Isolation gnawed at Emily. Attempts to appeal to the couple's humanity fell on deaf ears. "What did I do wrong? Why can't I leave?" she pleaded. Olivia would only smile. "You belong here. We know what's best. If you try to run, you'll only make things worse for everyone." The children grew more agitated. William began to act out, his nightmares returning, crying out for Emily to protect him. Rose, silent and withdrawn, started wetting the bed. Emily comforted them as best she could, but how could she promise safety she couldn't provide? As storm clouds gathered outside, Emily understood the depth of her peril. There were no more gentle smiles, no more gifts, no more pretense of kindness. Only control, only fear. On the seventh night, as thunder cracked overhead, Emily heard her door open. Julian stood in the shadow, face masked in half-darkness. "Tomorrow," he said, "everything changes. It's time you fully understood your place in this family." The door closed softly, but the promise of violence lingered in the air. Emily pressed her fist to her mouth to keep from screaming. In the heart of the Heron house, with every avenue of escape now sealed, Emily realized the truth. There was no way out, and soon, the world would learn just how twisted a secret family can become. Storm clouds blotted out the moon, rain slashing against the windows like desperate fingernails. Inside the Heron house, tension was a living, breathing thing. Every shadow thick with menace, every silence loud with threat. Emily lay awake, cold sweat slicking her skin, heart drumming as she replayed Julian and Yugursa's Sazlarini. Tomorrow, everything changes. But tonight, everything would break. At midnight, Emily heard the now familiar click of her door swinging open. Footsteps, two sets. Olivia and Julian entered together, their faces composed, eyes shining with a cold, unnatural certainty. "Get up," Julian ordered, voice low and unyielding. Emily's body obeyed before her mind could resist. Olivia carried a roll of duct tape, the silver catching the faint hallway light. Emily's vision tunneled. She tried to scream, but Olivia pressed a gloved hand over her mouth. "This is for your own good," Olivia whispered, chillingly calm. "You disrespected our trust. Disloyalty must be punished." Julian's hands were rough, binding Emily's wrists behind her back. They marched her downstairs, past the children's closed doors, into the cold, tiled laundry room. The world turned small. Harsh overhead light, bleach and chemicals burning her nose, the scrape of metal chair legs on linoleum. Olivia listed Emily's sins, her supposed betrayals, her ungratefulness, her plans to escape. Julian nodded at each accusation, his face expressionless. For the Herons, this was not rage, but ritual, not a loss of control, but the fulfillment of a long-harbored fantasy. The first blows came from Julian, sharp and clinical. Olivia took over, her anger more personal. A slap, a scream, a pull of Emily's hair. The torture was methodical, an endless cycle of questions and pain. When Emily begged for mercy, Olivia hissed, "You're part of us, whether you want it or not." At some point, Emily's pleas faded to whimpers. She lost count of the hours, consciousness slipping in and out. Olivia wept as she struck Emily, murmuring that she was sorry, that she wished Emily had just loved them back. Julian's violence escalated. The final blow came swift and brutal, a heavy wrench from the shelf, crashing into Emily's skull with a sickening crack. Blood pooled quickly, soaking into the tile. Suddenly, there was only silence. Olivia dropped to her knees, sobbing over Emily's lifeless body. Julian watched, breathing hard, finally showing fear. The spell was broken, replaced by the stench of death and the realization of what they had done. The Heron spent the rest of the night scrubbing, cleaning, whispering plans. They wrapped Emily's body in plastic, hiding it in the garden shed, just until we figure out what to do, Julian insisted. Olivia, shaking and wild-eyed, scrubbed at bloodstains until her fingers bled. Morning brought a macabre calm. The children found their parents pale and silent at the breakfast table. William asked where Emily was. Olivia forced a brittle smile. She went away. She wasn't happy here, but the children knew, deep down, that the house had changed forever. Outside, the rain slowed, leaving the neighborhood washed clean. But inside the Heron home, evil lingered, its scent soaked into every corner, its horror waiting for the world to stumble upon their terrible secret. The sun rose on the Heron house to an eerie stillness, masking a night of unspeakable violence. Olivia moved through the morning in a daze, brewing coffee that went untouched, her hands shaking so badly she nearly dropped the mugs. Julian sat at the kitchen table, pale and silent, staring into nothingness. The children, sensing the change, whispered to each other, tiptoeing around their parents with wide, nervous eyes. But outside their perfect facade, the world was beginning to notice Emily's absence. It started with a missed phone call from Emily's mother, then a series of anxious texts. When Emily failed to video chat that evening, a ritual she never skipped, her mother's worry turned to panic. She called the Herons, but Olivia answered with a hollow explanation. Emily left early this morning. She got a family emergency call and packed quickly. I'm sure she's fine. Emily's mother did not believe her. She called again and again, and when her calls went ignored, she began reaching out to Emily's friends, her college, even the local police. At first, the authorities brushed off the concern. Emily was an adult, after all. Perhaps she had simply left on her own. But as the hours turned to days and no one heard from Emily, concern turned to fear. Flyers appeared on telephone poles. Missing, Emily Fisher. Last seen at the Heron residence. Neighbors came by, asking questions. Olivia stuck to her story, inventing new details with each telling. Emily was unhappy. She never fit in here. Julian nodded, his face a mask. The police finally launched a formal investigation. Officers visited the Heron home, questioning the couple in the living room as the children looked on with frightened eyes. Olivia answered carefully, rehearsed and unfaltering. We treated her like family. She never said a word about leaving, just vanished. But cracks appeared in their story. One neighbor recalled seeing Olivia burning something in the garden after midnight. Another mentioned the loud argument that had shattered the night's peace. The police took note. Detectives returned with a warrant, combing through Emily's room, the laundry, the kitchen, the whole bright, orderly house. The Herons tried to maintain their composure, but both were unraveling, sleep-deprived and brittle. Julian snapped at the officers. Olivia wept, insisting their only mistake was trusting the wrong girl. It was in the garden shed that the truth came out. A faint, sickly odor led police to the far corner, where a poorly taped bundle protruded from behind bags of fertilizer. The officers called for backup, and the quiet street filled with sirens and flashing red lights. News rippled through the neighborhood within minutes. Emily Fisher had not run away. She had been found, dead, hidden in the Heron garden. Julian was arrested on the lawn, resisting as neighbors watched in horror. Olivia clung to the porch, screaming, "We did nothing wrong. She was ours to protect." The children cried for Emily, their voices lost in the chaos. The Heron's perfect world shattered. Onlookers packed the street. Reporters arrived, and the myth of the perfect family died in a swirl of flashing bulbs and angry whispers. The Heron's secrets were out, but justice and the truth were only just beginning to unfold. The Heron's arrest sent shockwaves far beyond their quiet street. Reporters swarmed the courthouse, hungry for details of the perfect couple now accused of crimes so chilling, no one could quite believe it. The headlines read like something out of fiction. Suburban parents torture and kill Nanny. Twisted family secrets exposed. As detectives pieced together the months Emily had spent in their home, a deeply disturbing pattern emerged. Interviews with neighbors revealed the Heron's obsession with control, how they'd scrutinized past nannies, how Olivia's smile seemed too wide, Julian's compliments too calculated. Other families admitted they'd always felt a strange atmosphere in the Heron house, but chalked it up to quirkiness, never imagining the truth. Emily's mother attended every court proceeding, a worn photograph of her daughter clutched in her hand. She was kind, she told reporters, and smart, and so hopeful. She didn't deserve this. Her grief became the heart of the case, proof of the life stolen by those who should have cared for her. The trial was relentless. Prosecutors laid out the evidence. Olivia and Julian's mounting fixation, Their increasing control, the elaborate rules meant to suffocate, not support. Emily's journals, recovered from her locked suitcase, painted a picture of growing terror. Her suspicions about the Herons, her plans to escape, her fear for the children. Medical experts described the injuries suffered in her last hours, the marks of torment that left no doubt about the couple's intentions. The Herons' defense crumbled quickly. They could not explain away the evidence, the lies, the violence. On the stand, Olivia wept, claiming she'd been a prisoner too, manipulated by Julian. Julian, however, showed little remorse, blaming Olivia, the children, even Emily. The jury saw through it all. Their verdict was swift, guilty on all counts. The sentencing was equally decisive. Life in prison for Julian and Olivia, no chance of parole. The sound of the gavel's final blow echoed in the courtroom, a promise that the cycle of control, cruelty, and secrecy was broken at last. In the months that followed, the Heron house stood empty, its garden overgrown. The neighborhood struggled to reconcile its memories of block parties and birthday cakes with the darkness that had lived among them. The children, William and Rose, were placed in the care of relatives, given new names and a chance at a quieter life. Emily was remembered with vigils and memorials. Her friends and family gathered by her favorite lake, releasing lanterns into the sky, vowing never to forget her spirit or to stay silent when something felt wrong. For many, the case was a chilling lesson. Evil can hide behind the brightest smiles, and sometimes the greatest danger lurks where you least expect it. Would you have seen the signs? Some headlines asked. It became a question for the whole community, a stark reminder to look closer, to ask harder questions, and to protect those whose voices are too easily dismissed. And for those who followed the trial from afar, Emily's story left a mark, proof that even in the safest neighborhoods, secrets can fester, and that justice must always seek out the truth, no matter how carefully it's been buried.